me live in studio is Father Paul Seil. He's served at many churches throughout the Buffalo Diocese throughout his career, currently serving as Buffalo Fire Chaplain. Thank you so much for joining us this morning live here on Daybreak to talk about the shocking news. Tell me about your reaction, Father Paul, when you heard it this morning.
Well, I was wondering why the phone was ringing so early. I thought it must be some kind of an emergency or something. And then to hear the news, especially on Easter Monday, the day after we saw the Holy Father, not looking terrific, but certainly without his oxygen and in a wheelchair and greeting people, and his first go-round in the Pope-mobile since in months, you know. So it was quite a surprise, you know, to see that he had passed away overnight. I think if it had happened a month ago, we might not have been so surprised or shocked, but today it just seems like we celebrated Easter. And with those beautiful words, you know, when he first was elected Pope, his first words were in Italian, buonasera, good evening. And it got a tremendous applause because it was so down to earth and simple. And I was thinking of that yesterday when he said Buona Pasqua, Happy Easter. Just, you know, a man of great complexity and yet great simplicity and humility as well.
Right, and he was a man who wanted to serve the people, and he spent his final hours amongst the people. Tell me about the significance of the timing of this, the most holy day of the year for Catholics being Easter, and his passing just hours after that.
I don't think it can be overstated or understated in many ways. It's kind of a remarkable sign to us of the fragility of human life, and yet even in death there is resurrection, and that was his message for Easter. His last post on X was, you know, he is risen, and he lived that in so many ways, from the simplicity of his life to raising up not himself, but raising up Christ, if you will, in others, especially the immigrants, the homeless. I was in Rome, the poor, the disenfranchised, those people on the fringes. One of the things he'll be remembered for, and there'll be a lot of things, but one is his interest in promoting what's called synodality, where there would be meetings throughout the world that have been taking place to talk to regular Catholics and people who are not Catholic, those who are, feel abandoned by the church. He would gather all these people in, and that's what a pastor really does, to gather people in. The other thing is he's kind of like, to me, you know, he's been a grandfatherly figure, I think, to many. You know, he's not, certainly was not doddering or tentative about the teachings of Christ and the church, but he did it in a very gentle way, you know. And I think those will be some of the things that at least I will remember the most about the Holy Father.
What do you think, Father Paul, what do you think the next Holy Father, what should Catholics seek out in the next Holy Father? The conclave will take days, weeks, perhaps months as the College of Cardinals comes together to select the next Pope. What would you like to see in the next Pope?
I don't even know. I would like to see someone very similar to Francis. But Francis, in addition to the inclusion of others, he also has you know, taken on some of the cultural wars, especially with regard to the wealth of some opposed to the poverty of others. I was in Rome a year ago in January, and you know, the Pope didn't just say these nice things. All around the Vatican, I was walking about 11 p.m. around St. Peter's Square, and there were all these homeless people there. And they were there and not shooed away or anything because the Pope said they should be there. The Pope would have dinners for them on his birthday and at other times. Hundreds of people just that nobody would really know, but they were, everyone was important to the Holy Father, and he led with mercy. That was his key. As far as the next Pope, you know, we've been surprised the last several popes, you know. I've lived, when I was born, it was Pius XII, who I don't remember, then John the 23rd, who, and then John Paul II, the longest reigning Pope from Poland, you know. Then we had a German Pope, you know, Benedict. And after he surprisingly retired, then we've got a Pope from Argentina. So who will be the next Pope? There'll be plenty of time to figure that out, I suppose, but I'm sure there's some people, you know, involved in it already. But, you know, would it be someone from Africa, you know? That's a good possibility, some people believe. Could it be someone from the East, you know, from the Asian church? There are several who are mentioned for that. And it's not insignificant, too, that the vice president, who has had some public disagreements with the Pope on certain policies, met with him yesterday. And I guess I would love to know what the conversation was between them in their private moments, you know?
Right, yeah, J.D. Vance did post on X this morning about his visit with Pope Francis yesterday.
Yes.
And yeah, there was the public disagreement about the deportation policies of the Trump administration, and Pope Francis coming out and saying that it was a disgrace and being very open about his disagreement with how the Trump administration has handled deportation. But yeah, very significant that J.D. Vance met with the Pope yesterday and that he did make the public appearance to all of the worshipers in St. Peter's Square. So many celebrating Easter yesterday and now gathering this morning in St. Peter's Square to mourn the loss of Pope Francis at the age of 88. Father Paul Seil, thank you for joining us this morning. We will continue to have a conversation with you throughout Daybreak, and our coverage will continue right after this. Stay with us.